Here's a lawnmower. It turns out lawnmowers are very dangerous devices. The government in the United States regulates lawnmowers. Notice they have a chute on the right-hand side, and you see they also have a dead man's switch on the handle, much like the one you see here. They have to have a small warning sign that indicates you're not able to put your toes or your fingers underneath the deck of the lawnmower. All of these things make lawnmowers much more expensive. But the one thing they don't do is they don't seem to make lawnmowers much safer. The number of accidents due to lawnmowers seems to be about the same both before we instituted the regulations and after the safety regulations. We also have regulations that cover matches in the United States. Matches also turn out to be relatively dangerous. Match regulations requires that you have a striking surface only on one side of the matchbook. These regulations require that matches be chemically treated in a way such that when the match burns down to about a third of the matchstick, it extinguishes. Match covers have to remain closed with a certain degree of shaking. All of this has made matches much more expensive. 15 years ago, it was the case that matches were given away free as advertising in the United States. That's no longer the case. They're too expensive. Now everyone has to purchase matches. Most of the match companies went out of business as a result of the regulation, and matches have become exceedingly expensive. But match regulations did not reduce the number of accidents and deaths due to ignitions. In fact, those statistics increased as consumers switched to an even more dangerous and unregulated ignition source, butane lighters. Antitrust type regulation is perhaps even more important for the wireless arena. Antitrust regulation in the wireless arena is largely a set of rules to deal with potential monopolies. And what we've assumed about antitrust regulation is that firms structured like a monopoly conduct their business like a monopoly, and their performance, especially in terms of the prices that they charge consumers, will be high monopoly prices, and they'll earn high excess monopoly profits. We look at the structure, conduct, performance paradigm in antitrust regulation. The idea is if we have contestable markets, a contestable market is a market in which firms can freely enter and exit the market. Contestable markets are sort of the be-all and end-all for economists. If you have a market in which firms are allowed to do business and firms are allowed to get into and out of the business, it's likely that we will get competitive prices and competitive quantities offered to consumers. That's good for consumers. Government usually likes to measure market competitiveness with concentration ratios. The concentration ratio is calculated by taking the sales of the 4 largest firms in the industry and dividing that by industry total sales. For example, companies that brewed beer in 1973. The market share shown here for Anheuser-Busch is 22% of the market. If we take a look at the concentration ratio for the 4 largest brewers, it turns out the 4-firm concentration ratio was 59. That seems quite concentrated.